Hi everybody, we're on Math Module 5, Lesson 20 homework. This is on page 213 in your Succeed book. What we're doing today is a lot the same as yesterday, only instead of just choosing your favorite strategy and maybe comparing it to mine, you need to show two different ways to solve the problem. On this first page, you get to choose both ways. So, let's get started. Number 1, 456 plus 244. Let's get that a little bigger. You can really see what we're doing here. All right, 456 plus 244. Lots of different ways to do it. I think I might use the arrow way on this one. So I have 456. And what would you do to add 244? What would you add first to make this a friendlier number? Yeah, that 4. If I just add 4 here, I'm going to take this up to the next 10. 6 plus 4 will give me that next 10. So instead of 456, now I've got 460. And I have only added that 4 so far. This works very well then, because my next number that I could add will take this to the next 100, so it's perfect. I'm going to add 40. 40 and 60 is 100. That is going to take 460 up to the next 100. What's the next 100 after 460? 500. Now I've added the 4 ones and I've added my 4 tens. The only thing I still have to add is my hundreds. So I'm going to add one more arrow here, try to squeeze it in. 500 plus 200 is 700. 244. That's what I needed to add. So 456 plus 244 equals 700. Now, I'm going to wait until I've done it a second way, just to make sure I've done it correctly. So for my next one, maybe, I will do my favorite way. I'm going to do totals below. So 456, lining up carefully, 244. I'm going to start with my ones. 6 plus 4 is 10. 5 tens plus 4 tens is 9 tens. 9 tens is 90. And then I just have my hundreds. 4 hundreds plus 2 hundreds equals 6 hundreds. Add those together. 1 plus 9, that's 10. So make my new group up there. 6 and 1 is 700. I got 700 this way and 700 this way, so I'm going to go ahead and fill it in up there. Did you do it a different way? Did you just follow along? On this second one, I want you to look at it carefully and choose your first strategy. Go ahead and pause, think about it, push play when you're ready to see how I did it. Now, when I'm looking at this, I know that I have a whole and one part, so I am missing a part. When I am missing a part, I can either count up from 698 to 945, or I can subtract 945 minus 698. Well, it seems to me that this is a pretty easy subtraction problem if I use compensation. If I add 2 to each of those numbers, so instead of 945, I would have 947. And if I add 2 to 698, I have 700. That's a pretty simple subtraction. Always easier when you have zeros in your part. So 7 minus 0 is 7, 4 minus 0 is 4, and 9 minus 7 is 2. So let's see if my second strategy, if I'm getting my same answer. All right, so compensation I really liked. How else could I do it? Well, I could do a chip model and subtract, or I could do the arrow way and go up. So 698 plus something until I get to 945. I'm going to try the arrow way. So I have 698. And again, just like with my compensation, I want to start by adding 2, because that's going to get me to a much easier number to think about. So now I'm at 700. I need to get to 945. So how many more hundreds do I need to get from 700 to 900? I'm going to need 2. That's going to get me to 900. And then I just need to add 45. So that's going to be my last arrow. I'm going to add in 45 to get 945. Now I need to add these 3 numbers together. So we would have 200 plus 45, 245, and then 2 more, 246, 247. That is the same as what I got when I did compensation. 247. And I used 2 different ways. If you have just come back, I want you to be thinking about what way you did, if yours is different from mine, and how we did them differently. Because the second page is a little different than this first one. So go ahead and pause if you need some time to catch up. I'm moving to the second page. This time we get to choose, but we only get to choose one way from 2 different ways that they suggest. So our problem here is 257. We're going to add 257 plus 160. Now we can either use the arrow way or vertical form. They want us to circle whichever way we used, solve it, and then say why we chose that way. So again, I'd like you to take a second, think about your strategy, what you think would be the easiest way to do this. And then go ahead and solve it, pause the video, and come back when you're ready to talk to me about it. Now, as I look at this, when I have to add 160 to 257, it's not going to be super easy to do the arrow way. I can see that I'm not going to have to compose when I'm adding my ones, but when I'm adding my tens, 5 tens plus 6 tens, that's going to give me an extra new group. So I'm going to use the vertical form. I'm going to start by writing my problem, 257 plus 160. And I'm going to add 7 plus 0 is 7. 5 plus 6, well, 5 and 5 is 10. So 5 and 6 must be one more than that. So 5 and 6 is 11, which is 110, and then a group of 10 tens, which is another 100. Ooh, that looks like a V, not a 1. There we go. So then I'm adding my hundreds, and I have 2 plus 1 plus 1, which is 417. Now, If you use the vertical form and the chip model, that's fine too. But your answer should look similar to mine. I'm going to go ahead and put that response up here, 417. And I'm going to explain why I use the vertical form. For me, doing the arrow way, it was going to be kind of tricky. I could add the 1 to the 2, but then the 6 to the 5 gets kind of complicated. So for me, vertical form seemed easier or more efficient than trying to do the arrow way. It's okay if you disagree. It's okay if you did the arrow way. What we want to know is, did we get the same answer? There are so many ways to get there. If you did the arrow way, you might not have even added it the same way I would. Let's go ahead and move on to 4. Same setup. We have 754 minus 597. We have to choose a number bond or the arrow way. A number bond or the arrow way. You need to choose which one you will do, solve it, and then push play to find out how I did. All right, for me, number bond isn't going to work. That works better when it is addition. I can take part of one part and share it to the other without changing anything. I can't take part of the whole and change the number I'm taking out of it, or take part of a part and give it to the whole. That doesn't make sense. So for me, I'm going to need to do the arrow way. Now, I think it's always easier to go up rather than back. So I'm going to start at 597 and count up until I get to 754. You might choose to do it the other way. That's fine. So I'm starting with 597, and I am absolutely going to add 3 to get me to the next friendly number, which is the next 100 in this case. If I add 3 to 597, I'm going to get 600. Now I need to get up to 754. So what would you add next to 600? I know that I need to get from 600 to 700, so I could add 100, which would give me 700. And then I could add the 54 to get me to 754. If you can do that in your head, you could have gone from 600 and added 154 to get straight here instead of breaking it down into 2. But now to finish solving this, I need to add those together. These are the numbers that I added to 597 to get 754. These are, if I put them together, those are my missing part. So now I need to add 154 and 3. So 0 and 4 and 3, that is 7. Only 5 tens, no other tens to add. And only 100, no other hundreds to add. I got 157. Now the easiest way to check my answer and see if it's right is to add 157 and 597. So 597 plus 157. 7 plus 7, that's a doubles fact. 14, that's 4 ones and 1 10. 9 and 1 is going to be 10, and 5 more is 15. So 5 tens and one group of 10 to make 100. 5 plus 1 is 7. So when I add those two parts together, if I get the whole I started with, then I know I subtracted or added correctly to get that missing part. So I used the arrow way. Why did I do that? Number bonds work best for addition. Now, if you found a way to use the number bond to subtract, that's great, as long as we both got the same answer, 157. Thanks for working hard today, and I'll see you next time.